welcome to an exploration of one of the most fascinating phenomena in modern physics, the Nano-Plasmonic Paradox. Light squeezing into regions smaller than its own wavelength challenges our classical understanding of electromagnetic waves. Let's start with a fundamental question. What is the diffraction limit, and why does it matter? According to classical physics, light cannot be focused into a spot smaller than approximately half its wavelength due to diffraction. This is the Rayleigh criterion, where d minimum equals lambda over 2n sine theta, the fundamental diffraction limit. For visible light with a wavelength around 500 nanometers, this sets a fundamental limit. The minimum spot size is roughly 250 nanometers, about half the wavelength. When light passes through an aperture, it spreads out due to diffraction, creating this fundamental size limit that seems unbreakable. But here's where nature surprises us. Through plasmonics, we can actually break this diffraction limit. So what exactly are surface plasmons, and how do they enable this remarkable feat? Surface plasmons are collective oscillations of electrons that occur at the interface between a metal and a dielectric material. Here we see electrons in the metal oscillating collectively, while electromagnetic waves propagate along the interface, creating surface plasmons. The electric field decays exponentially as E of z equals E0 times e to the negative z over delta. The decay length delta is much smaller than the wavelength lambda, which is the key to beating diffraction. This brings us to a critical question. Just how small can we confine light using plasmonics? The surface plasmon wavelength equals the free space wavelength times the square root of epsilon m plus epsilon d over epsilon m times epsilon d. Let's calculate a real example using a gold-air interface at 600 nanometers wavelength. For gold, the dielectric constant is approximately negative 11.5 plus 1.2 I. For air, epsilon d equals 1. This gives us a surface plasmon wavelength of approximately 580 nanometers, slightly smaller than free space. However, in the transverse direction perpendicular to propagation, we can achieve confinement of just 10 to 50 nanometers. This means we can squeeze light into regions 30 times smaller than its wavelength, completely breaking the diffraction limit. Now let's explore the mathematical framework that describes this phenomenon. Starting from Maxwell's equations at the metal dielectric interface, we derive the dispersion relation. The surface plasmon wave vector equals k0 times the square root of epsilon m times epsilon d over epsilon m plus epsilon d. This wave vector becomes very large when the metal permittivity approaches -1 times the dielectric permittivity. When epsilon m approximately equals negative epsilon d, the wave vector approaches infinity, meaning infinite confinement. This graph shows the dispersion relation, demonstrating how the plasmon wave vector grows much larger than the free space wave vector. Here's a profound question. Why do photons in these plasmonic systems start behaving like electrons? The connection emerges because surface plasmons are fundamentally collective electron oscillations coupled to light. Both photons and plasmons carry energy equal to h bar omega, maintaining quantum properties. Both have momentum equal to h bar k, but now k can be much larger than for free photons. We can even define an effective mass for surface plasmons, just like electrons have mass. The effective mass equals h bar squared k over 2e, analogous to electron effective mass in semiconductors. Photons transform into plasmons at the interface, gaining particle-like properties, including effective mass and extremely short wavelengths. One of the most spectacular effects is field enhancement, where electromagnetic fields become incredibly intense. The field intensity enhancement is inversely proportional to the mode volume, so smaller volumes mean stronger fields. Consider a specific example, a 20 nanometer gap between two gold nanoparticles. The mode volume is approximately 20 nanometers cubed, which equals 8 times 10 to the negative 24 cubic meters. This tiny volume produces enhancement factors between 10,000 and 1 million times the incident field. In the tiny gap between nanoparticles, the field becomes 100,000 times more intense, creating what we call a hotspot. At such small scales, quantum mechanics becomes unavoidable, leading to fascinating new physics. When the gap between metal structures shrinks below 1 nanometer, electrons can quantum tunnel across the gap. The tunneling probability goes as e to the negative 2 kappa d, where d is the gap width. Here, kappa equals the square root of 2 meters phi over h bar squared, where phi is the work function. For gaps less than half a nanometer, quantum tunneling completely changes the plasmonic response. Electrons tunnel through barriers that classical physics says should be impenetrable, fundamentally altering plasmonic behavior. To properly describe these tiny systems, we need quantum corrections to the classical plasmon model. The quantum-corrected plasmon frequency equals the classical frequency times 1 plus beta over d squared. The quantum correction parameter beta is approximately 0.3 nanometers squared for typical metals. For a gap of 0.5 nanometers, the quantum correction shifts the frequency by roughly 100%. These exotic phenomena aren't just theoretical curiosities, they enable revolutionary technologies. Field enhancement allows us to detect and analyze individual molecules using surface-enhanced Raman spectroscopy. Surface-enhanced Raman scattering goes as the fourth power of the field, giving enhancements up to 10 to the 14. The small mode volumes enable optical switches that operate in femtoseconds, 1,000 times faster than electronics. Plasmonic nanoantennas can capture and focus light for solar cells or enhance LED emission. Plasmonic nanostructures can concentrate sunlight into thin-film solar cells, dramatically improving their efficiency. But there's a fundamental challenge we must address. Plasmonic systems inevitably lose energy. Ohmic losses in the metal cause plasmons to decay after traveling only micrometers. The propagation length equals 1 over 2 times the imaginary part of the plasmon wave vector. For typical plasmonic systems, propagation lengths are only 10 to 100 micrometers. There's an inherent trade-off between strong field confinement and long propagation distances. As plasmons propagate along a metal surface, their amplitude decays exponentially due to absorption in the metal. Can we overcome these losses? Active plasmonics offers a solution by adding gain to the system. By embedding gain materials, like quantum dots or dyes, near the plasmonic structures, we can compensate for losses. The total imaginary permittivity equals the metal loss plus the gain contribution, which can be negative. The challenge is that we need gain coefficients exceeding 10,000 inverse centimeters to overcome plasmonic losses. The gain coefficient G must exceed the loss coefficient alpha, which is typically 10,000 inverse centimeters. Let's work through a complete design example to see how all these concepts come together. We'll design a gold nanorod antenna optimized for 800 nanometer wavelength light. The resonant length equals the effective wavelength divided by 2, like a half-wave antenna. The effective wavelength is the free space wavelength divided by the square root of the effective permittivity. For gold at 800 nanometers, the dielectric constant is approximately -25 plus 1.5 I. This gives an effective wavelength of approximately 160 nanometers. So the resonant rod length should be approximately 80 nanometers. We choose a width of about 20 nanometers for strong field confinement. This nanorod antenna efficiently converts far-field radiation into localized near-fields with huge enhancement factors. Now let's estimate the field enhancement we can achieve with this structure. The intensity enhancement scales as L cubed over W over 2 cubed, giving us approximately 64 times enhancement. Including the resonance quality factor of about 10 for gold structures, we get even more enhancement. The total enhancement is Q times 64, or approximately 640 times the incident intensity. There's a beautiful analogy between plasmonic systems and traditional microwave waveguides that helps our intuition. Just as metal waveguides confine microwaves, plasmonic structures confine optical waves below the diffraction limit. The dispersion relation, kz squared plus k perpendicular squared equals k0 squared, epsilon applies to both. However, the physics differs dramatically due to quantum effects and much shorter length scales. Like electromagnetic modes in a waveguide, plasmonic modes are confined between metal boundaries but operate at optical frequencies. So how do we resolve the central paradox? How can light truly become smaller than its wavelength? The key insight is that the free space wavelength is not the relevant length scale for plasmons. The relevant scale is the skin depth delta, which equals c, over the plasma frequency omega p. For typical metals, this skin depth is approximately 20 nanometers, much smaller than optical wavelengths. Surface plasmons naturally live in this regime, where the 20 nanometer skin depth sets the size scale. Free space wavelength and plasmon length scale represent fundamentally different physical regimes governed by different physics. At the smallest scales, even our plasmon model breaks down due to non-local effects. When structures shrink below 5 nanometers, individual electron motion becomes important, and the response becomes non-local. The displacement field depends on both omega and k, not just omega, making epsilon a function of wave vector. The permittivity becomes epsilon infinity times 1 minus omega p squared over omega times omega plus I gamma plus beta squared k squared. The non-local parameter beta equals the Fermi velocity times the square root of 3 over 5. Non-local effects cause resonances to blue shift and reduce the maximum field enhancement by factors of 2 to 5. Perhaps the deepest insight is that surface plasmons are true hybrid states, neither pure photons nor pure electrons. The plasmon state is a quantum superposition, alpha times the photon state, plus beta times the electron state. The mixing coefficients alpha and beta depend on the frequency and the size of the nanostructure. The coefficients are normalized, so alpha squared plus beta squared equals 1, ensuring probability conservation. The plasmon occupies the overlap region, sharing properties of both photons and electrons in a true quantum hybrid. Where is this field headed? Several exciting directions are emerging in plasmonic research. Quantum plasmonics aims to create and detect individual plasmons, enabling quantum information processing at the nanoscale. Topological plasmonics exploits topological protection to create robust plasmonic waveguides immune to defects. Two-dimensional materials like graphene support plasmons with even stronger confinement and electrical tunability. Graphene plasmons can have wavelengths up to 100 times smaller than free space, achieving unprecedented confinement. Let's summarize how we've resolved the Nano-Plasmonic Paradox. Light itself doesn't violate its wavelength limit, but transforms into a different type of excitation. Surface plasmons are hybrid states coupling electromagnetic fields to collective electron motion. These hybrids operate in a regime where the relevant length scale is the 20 nanometer skin depth, not the micron scale wavelength. At the very smallest scales, below 5 nanometers, quantum mechanics and non-local effects fundamentally modify plasmon behavior. Practical applications exploit the extreme field confinement and enhancement to achieve single-molecule sensing, ultra-fast switching, and efficient light harvesting. The Nano-Plasmonic Paradox reveals that nature provides clever ways to manipulate light at scales far smaller than we once thought possible, opening new frontiers in science and technology.